ask, all the participants in the session, how would you like me to proceed? Hindi, English, English. I'm fine with anything that you guys like.
Both are fine. That's not an
Both are
issue.
fine. Both are fine. Okay, perfect. So yeah, now you must be wondering why Pen Test Plus? Because most of the security enthusiasts, जिनको भी job करना है cyber security में, they go for CEH, they go for OSCP, they go for other certifications, right? So before I, start talking about this certification, I just want to establish the fact that हमारे पास दो टाइप्स की डोमेन्स हैं अगर हम उनको ब्रॉडली कैटेगराइज करें. सो द फर्स्ट वन वुड बी डिफेंसिव एंड द अदर वन इज ऑफेंसिव, राइट? एंड जितने भी जॉब्स हैं, इवन दो जॉब में लिखा होएगा कि यू विल बी वर्किंग एज अ रेड टीम कंसल्टेंट और यू विल बी वर्किंग एज अ पेन टेस्टर, ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपको सिर्फ एक ही तरीके का काम करवाएंगे, राइट? आपको दूसरी चीज़ की भी नॉलेज होनी चाहिए. सो फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ़ यू आर अ पेन टेस्टर, इफ़ यू हैव बीन हायर्ड फॉर द रोल ऑफ अ पेन टेस्टर, but if you don't know how SOAR works, what are the different threat modeling frameworks, किस थ्रेट मॉडलिंग फ्रेमवर्क से हमारे पास क्या रिजल्ट्स आएंगे, तो जब कंपनीज आपको कांटेक्ट करेंगे, व्हेन दे आर गोइंग टू कांटेक्ट यू, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड वेल कि हो क्या रहा है, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाई व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन हियर इज आपको दोनों चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. एंड जो पेन टेस्ट प्लस है, जो उसकी लेटेस्ट वर्जन है, विच इज PT003, they have made changes accordingly. How do I know? Because I did Pentest plus PT002. I cleared that. But when I took the exam, it was a little different from what the syllabus was, what the course was actually, because there were few labs in which they wanted me to work with firewalls as well. Now, I'm not saying कि हम यहाँ पे firewalls पढ़ना शुरू कर देंगे, ठीक है? बट एटलीस्ट हमें पता होना चाहिए किस तरीके से काम करती हैं. सो PT003 में उन्होंने जो फोकस है थोड़ा सा चेंज कर दिया है. उन्होंने क्या करने की कोशिश की है यहाँ पे कि उन्होंने दोनों कॉन्सेप्ट्स को साथ में लाना शुरू किया है. सो यू मस्ट हैव अ क्वेश्चन कि अगर PT003 में ये सब करवा रहे हैं तो CYSA में क्या करवाएंगे. सो पेंटेस्ट प्लस एंड CYSA दोनों सेम लेवल पे हैं. वन इज फॉर डिफेंसिव साइबर सिक्योरिटी, द अदर वन इज फॉर ऑफेंसिव साइबर सिक्योरिटी, राइट? तो CYSA में भी उन्होंने थोड़े थोड़े कॉन्सेप्ट फॉर जो हमारे पास आते हैं पेन टेस्टिंग के या ऑफेंसिव साइबर सिक्योरिटी के, उन्होंने यहाँ पे डाल दिए हैं. अब नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन जो आता है, व्हाई दिस सर्टिफिकेशन? बिकॉज इफ यू आर नॉट इन the United States, or if you're not in the Western countries, why should you go for Pentest Plus? Why not CH? Because अगर जितने भी आप LinkedIn पे जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन देखो, वहां पे तो आपको दिखा रहे हैं कि CH करो तो काफी है. Now the thing is, and because I have been in the industry, from what I have observed is जो हमारे पास CH है, that is just skills oriented. Yes, Kamal, any questions? Okay. So जो CEH है, that is just skills oriented. उसमें क्या है? You work with tools, and if you have been on Hack the Box or Try Hack Me for a good period of time, you know how to solve labs, right? But when it comes to Pentest Plus, it is more process oriented, right? And जब भी आपको कोई कंपनी हायर करेगी, वो बस ये नहीं देखेगी कि आपको टूल्स चलाने कितने अच्छे आते हैं, राइट? क्योंकि वो आप सीख सकते हो आराम से अपने फ्री टाइम में. बट हर कंपनी का एक प्रोसेस होता है, राइट? एंड वो प्रोसेस कौन से फॉलो करती हैं? दे फॉलो प्रोसेसेस अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्टैंडर्ड्स, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू हैव बीन हायर्ड एज अ पेन टेस्टर, एंड जिस कंपनी में आप काम कर रहे हो, they are also conducting threat modeling at the same time. So can anyone tell me what threat modeling is? What happens in threat modeling? Even if you don't know the complete answer, that is fine. Like I said, we should have a discussion, right? Because all my sessions are like that. Yes, can anyone tell me what threat modeling is? You can even go on the internet, find the answer, and explain that to me. Anyone? Animesh? Prince? Yes, Animesh. Threat modeling. No.
Basically,
Okay.
identifying the threats that can impact network.
Okay.
Basically, in case I talk about the network, like open firewall ports.
Okay. So that is somewhat correct, and thank you for that. But जो threat modeling होती है, we just don't conduct threat modeling for our networks. Threat modelings are for our products as well. Threat modelings are for our whole infrastructure as well. So क्या होता है कि whenever we, let's suppose create a new software, so
Hmm.
we have to check कि हर स्टेज पे उस सॉफ्टवेयर की क्या क्या हमारे पास प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकती हैं. You created a software. How is it going to interact with the people or the users, right? How is it going to send data? Where is it storing data, right? So uske liye we create something known as data flow diagrams, and then we check what kind of attacks are possible, right? So coming back to the main question, pentest plus, why pentest plus? क्यों करनी चाहिए हमें? Because, you know, you should have knowledge of the processes. एंड अगर आपकी कंपनी में जो थ्रेट मॉडलिंग के लिए एक स्पेसिफिक फ्रेमवर्क यूज किया जा रहा है, फॉर एग्जांपल स्ट्राइड, व्हिच वी विल टॉक अबाउट इन दिस कोर्स ऑब्वियसली, सो यू शुड नो कि किस तरीके से आपको थ्रेट्स एनालाइज करनी है एंड आइडेंटिफाई करनी है, राइट? So that is why, Pentest Plus is different from CH. Now, in no way I'm saying कि CH is not a good certification, because I have both. I have CH practical, I have Pentest Plus as well, right? But then if you talk about which one helped me with the interviews, it was Pentest Plus, right? Because in most of the cybersecurity interviews, they are not going to have you sit on a lab platform and solve labs, right? Yeah, there will be a round for that depending on which kind of role you apply for, but they want you to know कि आपने पहले क्या काम किया है and how can you correlate, you know, what you have done with what you will do. So that is more and more discussed in Pentest Plus. All right. Any questions, guys? Happy to answer any questions that you have while we go through the presentation.
So, both of these are vendor specific, right? Talking about the
Sorry.
CH Council, it is for it is CH Council and this is CompTIA, right?
Yeah, yeah. CH is going to be EC Council. This is going to be
Hello.
from CompTIA. Yeah, yeah. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
So, yeah, I can hear you. So, both are on the same tangent, or it is something different in CH, or P pen test is the basic.
No, I would say pen test is, if I categorize both of them, CH would be more of a baseline certification, right? And pen test would be above it. Why? Let me tell you, because like I mentioned, from my experience of taking CH, there were around 13 or 14 questions. There were around 16 or 17 tools that I had to memorize. Memorize in the sense that I would just practice working with them on a daily basis, and I would be good. As long as I know how a specific tool works, I'm good. But when I took Pentest Plus, the questions were more analytical, right? For example,
Okay.
you're conducting a pen test, and these are the client requirements. What would you do? So all that knowledge related to processes and legalities, because when you conduct a pen test or when you become a pen tester, only 50% of your time would be devoted to actual pen testing, working with tools, writing scripts, right? The remaining half of your time, जो बाकी का आपका time होगा, that would be dedicated to understanding laws, frameworks, standards, writing documentation, writing reports. So that is where, Pentest Plus, I wouldn't say is streets ahead, but yes, it is definitely different. So CH would be a baseline certification. After that, you have Pentest Plus. So, a year ago, I was delivering a program known as the Cybersecurity Master Program here at, Networkings.
Mm.
Yeah, so we started with Security Plus, then we went to Network Plus, CEH, then we went to Pentest Plus, and then finally CYSA. So that's how the courses were aligned. All right. Any other questions, guys?
So,
I have one question.
the reports, sorry.
Mhm.
No.
Yes,
So,
Kamal, go ahead.
yeah, so my question is there any order we follow to complete the cybersecurity master program? Or if I opt the CYSA first, is it
Mhm.
fine?
Yeah, it should be fine because so are you actually going through a CYSA course right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is there any requirement that first I have to complete the CES, then I should attempt the CYSA?
How good is your foundational knowledge? Are you confident?
Foundation knowledge is good. Yeah, yeah,
Foundational
I'm
knowledge is good, then
yeah.
you should be okay. You don't have to worry about anything, right?
Okay.
Because what used to happen is I used to run CYSA and Pentest Plus batches, and
Hmm.
then I had people join CYSA first and then Pentest Plus, but wouldn't make any difference.
Okay.
All right. So the concepts are going to be similar, and there would be an actual correlation. So if you have gone through CYSA and you understood the concepts well, it would actually help you understand Pentest Plus better. For example, if you're conducting Active Directory pen testing, right? And then in CYSA, everything was covered related to Active Directory hardening and what kind of protocols should we be working with and what kind of protocols should we be avoiding. If you know
Mhm.
that from CYSA Plus, you know how to use certain tools in Pentest Plus. So that's how it works. So that's my experience as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Okay. There's another question, difference between OSCP and CompTIA PenTest. Again, OSCP is skill-based. It is, it is more of a trophy certification in the sense that people want to take that certification because of its name. And again, it's an awesome certification, but it does not touch upon the concepts of processes, change management in cybersecurity. It does not talk about the legalities and the laws, right? Because you are going to be solving boxes, Arvind. All right. So if you have spent a good amount of time on hack the box, you're good, right? If you have spent a good amount of time on uh, world machines, you're good. You can easily solve OSCP, right? So that is the main difference. And hota kya hai, again, from my experience, when I had these certifications, which were mostly skill based, I thought कि मेरे को सारी चीजें आती हैं, right? I cleared interviews, and then when I actually started working in the company, I got to understand, okay, इस चीज को मैं इसके साथ correlate कर सकता हूँ. I know what threat modeling is, but उसमें से कौन सा framework किस टाइम पे काम आएगा, ठीक है? वो मुझे कैसे पता चला जब मैं काम करता गया, एंड उसमें थोड़ी सी हेल्प मेरे को, और आई वुड से काफी हेल्प मुझे पेनटेस्ट प्लस से भी मिली. सो दैट्स हाउ आई वुड categorize Pentest Plus and the others. Now, one more thing, because this s- course is going to be on Pentest Plus, so it's not going to be about bashing all the other vendors and their certifications, right? If you are taking Pentest Plus, you should know what your goal is. Your goal is either to clear a certification, right, or to clear an interview, right? So that's what your goal should be. You should know about that. So अगर आपको लग रहा है कि you just want to solve some labs and you want to get a promotion with the newfound knowledge of the tools that you have worked with, I wouldn't suggest, that you go with Pentest Plus. That is something that you can learn from Hack the Box or Try Hack Me as well. But if you want to be an actual consultant, cybersecurity consultant, not just a pen tester, that is where
BAPT.
Pentest Plus will help you out. Yeah, so again, VAPT में usually what will people tell you? If you know how certain tools work, if you know how Nessus works, if you know how certain scripts work, if you have the business version of Nessus, if you know the 5 stages of hacking, you're good. No, that's not like that, right?
Yeah.
Even in your company, there will be specific, standards on which
Yes.
or related to which when you are supposed to conduct VAPT, you have to follow change management. There will be tickets
Yes.
created for that, right?
Yes.
So
Correct.
that all that is not covered in CEH. So that is why if you have the knowledge from CH, you can use that knowledge and become better by taking Pentest Plus. But if let's say if you don't have CEH, you're straight away jumping to Pentest Plus, you will be spending more time, there will be more effort involved, but trust me, it is worth everything at the end. So that's how I would put it.
Actually, I have a question. Hello.
Yeah, yes, Agar.
तो सर मैं जैसे 2 साल से पेन टेस्टिंग में हूँ. हम लोग
Mhm.
एनआईसी के साथ काम करते हैं. तो मैंने सीएच नहीं करा हुआ, डायरेक्ट पेन टेस्ट के लिए जा रहा हूँ मैं. तो इज इट गुड और लाइक.
It is good because आपके पास experience है. You like you mentioned, you have 2 years of experience in pen testing.
ठीक है.
You're good with tools. आपके पास आराम से tools की knowledge है. आपके पास scripting की knowledge है, if I may ask.
स्क्रिप्टिंग की नहीं है सर. हम लोग बस एनआईसी के लिए काम करते हो, तो वो लोग इतना कुछ चाहते नहीं. वो ओवास टॉप 10 फॉलो करते हैं बस. तो उसमें
Okay.
हम लोग स्क्रिप्टिंग वगैरह नहीं करते.
Okay, so for example, अगर आप OWASP top 10 follow करते हो, right? And
हाँ
then
जी.
you're looking for एक example देते हैं. You are trying to find a specific business logic vulnerability, है ना? तो अब there are not a lot of tools that can catch business logic errors. But अगर आपको बोले हमने SQL इंजेक्शन निकालना है, तो देर आर टूल्स फॉर दैट. अगर आपने
बिल्कुल
एक्सेस ढूंढना
बिल्कुल.
है, देर आर टूल्स फॉर दैट, है ना? Now,
वही वही.
business logic error is one such problem in OWASP top 10 जिसमें tools नहीं अच्छे से परफॉर्म करते. ठीक है. So उसके लिए you might have to write your own custom scripts. You might have to, uh, perform an analysis of the application. So वो सब यहाँ पे सिखाया जाएगा, right? Not at a
तो
very not at a very low level manner, but थोड़ा high level manner में हम इन चीज़ों को डिस्कस करेंगे. स्क्रिप्टिंग कैसे करनी है. There will be labs for that. There will be assignments for that. So it will definitely help.
ओके ओके. थैंक यू.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so I'll just talk about what the difference is from the previous version, Pentest 002, and what is going to be new in Pentest 003, and then I'll take remaining questions. Don't worry, I'll have a discussion with everyone. Okay, so let's take a look at. Let me move all the Zoom controls out of my way. Okay, so this is the latest version, PT003, and these are the domains, right? If you look at the domains, they actually look like the 5 stages of pen testing or 5 stages of hacking. ये वो same है, उसमें कुछ difference नहीं है यहाँ पे. So you have engagement management, जो PT002 थी previous version, उसमें planning and scoping था उसका नाम. Then you have recon and enumeration, okay? इसको पहले बोला जाता था, पिछले जो वर्जन थी उसमें इसको बोलते थे इंफॉर्मेशन गैदरिंग एंड वल्नरेबिलिटी स्कैनिंग. देन यू हैव वल्नरेबिलिटी डिस्कवरी एंड एनालिसिस, इसको बोलते थे अटैक्स एंड एक्सप्लॉइट्स. एंड जो फोर्थ है विच इज अटैक्स एंड एक्सप्लॉइट्स, उसको पहले बोलते थे रिपोर्टिंग एंड कम्युनिकेशन. एंड दैट वाज इट. PT002 में इतना ही था. बट अगर आप इसको ध्यान से देखो, यूजुअली इन सर्टिफिकेशंस लाइक OSCP एंड इन सर्टिफिकेशंस लाइक CEH किस चीज पे फोकस करते हैं? रिकॉन, एन्यूमरेशन, vulnerability discovery, analysis, attacks, exploits, right? And that is pretty much it. ठीक है. That is what you should be doing in pen testing. But if it's about red teaming में you perform lateral movement as well, and you will perform post exploitation as well. So उसके भी concepts यहाँ पे इन्होंने लाए हैं. And जो एक बिल्कुल brand new चीज है जो उन सर्टिफिकेशंस में नहीं है, दैट इज एंगेजमेंट मैनेजमेंट. ठीक है, टेक्निकल स्किल्स तो आपके पास आ जाएंगे, बट हाउ टू गो अबाउट इट, how to proceed, what kind of tickets need to be created in order to perform a pen test, how long would the pen test be, what is the scope, are you just going to blindly pen test everything? That is not how it works. What kind of assets are you going to test here? ठीक है, if defects are found in some assets which you are going to be pen testing and they crash, आगे क्या होगा, whose responsibility is it? Will you put a halt to the whole pen testing process? मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि आप उसको रोक दोगे अपनी जो pen testing है, या आगे बढ़ोगे? So all of that is going to be discussed here, right, in PT 003. Let's quickly take a look at, what is in the syllabus. Here, before I proceed with the presentation, I'll take your questions again. Okay, so engagement management, what are the different engagement activities? For example, एक बहुत ही simple चीज़ है, if you are going to pen test some specific IPs, do you know that पहले आपको IPs define करनी है, उनको lock करना है, right? Maybe you'll put them in a different environment. You will not keep them in the same environments as your other assets because because pen testing can actually break the whole infrastructure. Because जब tools काम करते हैं, even for example, let's take the scenario of Nmap or Nessus ले लो, ठीक है, like Animesh, you work on VAPT. Nessus is so hard on your infrastructure that it can even break the other assets. Now, break the other assets का ये मतलब नहीं कि वो चलना ही बंद हो जाएंगे, but उसका ये मतलब है कि they can become slow for that duration. So when you are going to conduct your vulnerability assessment or testing, you also have to decide a time slot when you are going to be conducting that, right? So
So
do you want to
here
conduct that?
you're
Yeah, yes, Animesh.
so here you're talking about the HTTP and HTTPS basically testing.
Not really. Could be anything. Could be
Okay.
as simple as a container that you are running in your infrastructure. Docker container could be as simple as Kubernetes,
Hmm.
cluster, not just the websites, not just HTTP, HTTPS. Could be anything. Like, as
Okay.
you can see, HTTP and HTTPS would fall here, web and partly network. Okay. But then if you have a new API that you are going to be testing, that can also be
Hmm.
assessed. Or if you have a container, or if you have a serverless application that you want to pen test, that would be done here. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then another pre-engagement activity, which a lot of people actually don't know about until they perform in such roles, that would be communication, right? पता तो चल गया, मेरे पास टूल्स हैं, मेरे पास नॉलेज है, मेरे पास पहले बग बाउंटी एक्सपीरियंस है जिसमें मैंने ये चीज़ों को मैंने हैक किया है, राइट? बट अब मैं आगे कैसे करूं? अब मैं एज एन इंडिविजुअल कंट्रीब्यूटर काम नहीं कर रहा, मतलब मैं एक इंडिपेंडेंट सिक्योरिटी रिसर्चर नहीं हूँ. आई एम वर्किंग इन अ कंपनी, राइट? इफ आई एम वर्किंग इन अ कंपनी, उसमें क्या तरीका है, मतलब कि हु इज गोइंग टू बी माय पॉइंट ऑफ कांटेक्ट इफ आई फाइंड एनीथिंग, हु एम आई गोइंग टू कन्वे इट टू? ऐसे नहीं होएगा कि आप एंड में किसी को बता दोगे बस यार मेरा काम हो गया, ये मेरी पेन टेस्टिंग की रिपोर्ट है, ये लो. You need approvals, right? You need your work to be reviewed. You need to know who the stakeholders are because आपको उनसे approval लेना है before conducting a pen test. And with this pen test, what are you aiming to achieve? अगर आप वो vulnerabilities निकाल रहे हो तो उससे फायदा क्या होगा? What do you think? Like, I have a question for all of you. When you go through a successful pen test, उसका कंपनी पे इम्पैक्ट क्या पड़ता है? आपने पेन टेस्ट कर दिया, आपके पास रिपोर्ट आ गई, यू शेयर्ड इट विद योर मैनेजर, व्हाट हैपेंस आफ्टर दैट? हैज एनीवन थॉट ऑफ इट? आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग ऑल ऑफ यू, क्या लगता है आपको?
It is shared with the client, and based on that report, he can fix the vulnerabilities that we have exploited.
ओके.
हाँ, हम लोग यही सेम करते हैं कि जैसे ही क्लाइंट से हमारे को भेजते हैं, फिर वो पैच करके हमारे
ओके.
पास वापस रिवर्ट, यू कैन रीटेस्ट इट अगेन.
Okay, so again, all of this is technical information, which is good. Like, I'm a technical person, all of you are technical people. हम इस बारे में डिस्कशन कर सकते हैं. Your manager would be a semi-technical person, but then जब ये बात ऊपर जाती है up the management ladder, क्या उनको पता है कि vulnerability कौन सी है? क्या उनको पता है कि इस vulnerability का क्या impact होएगा? No, right? They only talk about stuff which can yield the company profit. ठीक है, उनको पैसों से फर्क
Right.
पड़ता है. राइट. सो जब आपने अप्रूवल लेना है, आपने ये भी देखना है, मतलब व्हेन यू क्रिएट अ प्लान, अ पेन टेस्ट प्लान, आपको ये भी बात करनी है, यू नीड टू हैव अ डिस्कशन कि कितनी कॉस्ट पड़ेगी इस पेन टेस्ट की. राइट. हाउ मच इज इट गोइंग टू कॉस्ट. एंड अगर हम पेन टेस्टिंग के टाइम पे कुछ सर्विसेज हॉल्ट कर देंगे, उससे हमारी रेपुटेशन पे क्या इफेक्ट पड़ेगा. बिकॉज इफ वी हैव एक्टिव यूजर्स एंड दोज यूजर्स विल नॉट बी एबल टू use the application during that time, users will start using other applications from other companies or other vendors, right? So उससे business impact क्या पड़ेगा. So पेन टेस्टिंग का इस सर्टिफिकेशन के बाद या इस कोर्स के बाद you'll also understand or you'll also get to know that it's not just the technical impact. You found a vulnerability, you fixed it, you are good to go, right? You also have to think about the business impact, because in some cases ऐसा भी होगा कि if the vulnerability का इतना कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है हमारे बिजनेस पे, you might not even fix it. होता है ऐसा, because as a pen tester you only think about security, right? But when you work in a corporate environment, you have to strike a balance between security and business or money. किस पे कितना इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है. सो अगर आपकी सिक्योरिटी इतनी ज्यादा है बट आप पैसे नहीं कमा पा रहे हो कंपनी में, मतलब आपका जो कंपनी है वो पैसे पैसे नहीं कमा पा रही है, सो देन दैट्स नॉट अ गुड थिंग. बिकॉज सिक्योरिटी, मैं ये नहीं बोलूंगा इट शुड बी एन आफ्टर थॉट, बट इट शुड गो हैंड इन हैंड विद हाउ द कंपनी इज परफॉर्मिंग. इतनी सिक्योरिटी भी मत लेके आ जाओ कि आपके पास यूजर्स ही ना आए. इतना ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट कर दिया आपने उनके लिए एक्सेस करना एप्लीकेशन को कि वो किसी और ऑल्टरनेटिव को ढूंढे. सो दैट्स हाउ इट वर्क्स. सो दैट्स व्हाई इन द फर्स्ट सेक्शन इटसेल्फ ये जो मेन टॉपिक्स हैं इन्होंने यहाँ पे सारे डिस्कस किए हैं. एंड देन यू हैव द टेस्टिंग फ्रेमवर्क्स. सो बिफोर यू गो अहेड एंड परफॉर्म अ पेन टेस्ट, which standard are you going to comply with? Okay. People say that हम ये वाला specific model देंगे. We will go with cyber kill chain model. Okay, cyber kill chain model is not a standard. साइबर किल चेन मॉडल में बताया है कि अटैकर्स किस तरीके से अटैक करते हैं योर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, बट उसमें ये नहीं बताते कि क्या क्या प्रोसेसेस फॉलो करने हैं, इस स्टेप पे हमने किसको कम्युनिकेट करना है. फॉर दैट यू हैव पेन टेस्टिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल, क्रेस्ट. Has anyone heard of Crest? Crest also has their own cybersecurity certification. Crest has their own pen testing certification. Then you have PTES, which is Pen Testing Execution Standard. So I remember जब मैं एग्जाम दे रहा था तब उसमें क्वेश्चन आया था कि आई वाज सपोज टू कंडक्ट अ पेन टेस्ट एंड बीच में कुछ मेरे को मेजर डिफेक्ट दिखता है. आई एम फॉलोइंग PTES, सो क्या मुझे आगे बढ़ना चाहिए या क्या मुझे अपनी पेन टेस्टिंग हॉल्ट कर देनी चाहिए, राइट? So all of that is also going to be in this course. And then in the very beginning, I was talking about threat modeling frameworks, right? So threat modeling frameworks भी यहाँ पे आएंगे. And ये एक्चुअली इन्होंने सिक्योरिटी प्लस में पहले स्टार्ट किया था डिस्कस करना, बट बिकॉज सिक्योरिटी प्लस में ये सिर्फ इनकी थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज आपको मिलेगी. ये कैसे काम करते हैं थ्रेट मॉडलिंग फ्रेमवर्क्स, दैट इज डिस्कस्ड इन डिटेल इन पेंटेस्ट प्लस, एंड दिस इज सर्टनली हेल्पफुल, I'll be honest. And then you have the usual recon and enumeration, depending on what kind of asset you are going to pen test, उसकी किस तरीके से recon आप करोगे, right? कौन सा प्रोटोकॉल है, किस टाइप का आपके पास एसेट है. फॉर एग्जांपल, यूजुअली तो हम किन को करते हैं, हमारे पास सर्वर्स हैं, हमारे पास क्लाइंट्स हैं, क्लाइंट्स पे कुछ प्रोटोकॉल्स ओपन हैं, हम एन मैप से पता लगा देंगे कि इन पे ये सर्विसेज चल रही हैं, उन सर्विसेज की वर्जन्स निकाल के we can either create our own scripts or find exploits from the internet or even use tools like Metasploit, right? But then सिर्फ उतना ही नहीं होता है। आजकल हमारे पास अलग अलग टाइप के एसेट्स भी हैं, हमारे पास आईओटी है, राइट? मैक्सिमम कंपनीज और लॉट ऑफ कंपनीज आर यूटिलाइजिंग आईओटी डिवाइसेस। उनको किस तरीके से आप पेन टेस्ट करोगे? उनमें कौन से प्रोटोकॉल्स हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल लोरा वैन और बीएलई, किसको आप पेन टेस्ट करोगे, किस तरीके से आप करोगे? Along with that, there are some industrial technology components as well, जिसको हम ओटी बोलते हैं। ओटी की पेन टेस्टिंग अलग से होती है, राइट? सो वो सब भी यहाँ पे we are going to look in detail. And then this is a question that I asked Sagar because Sagar has been in pen testing domain for 2 years. तो तभी मैं पूछ रहा था, do you write your own scripts? Because scripts के साथ क्या होता है? Scripts का basically जो motto है that is DRY, डू नॉट रिपीट योर सेल्फ। क्योंकि अगर आपका टाइम रोज ही जा रहा है एक ही टूल को चलाने में एंड आप उस पे आवर्स एंड आवर्स एंड आवर्स स्पेंड कर रहे हो, इट डजेंट मेक एनी सेंस, राइट? आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड, राइट? तो उसको आप ऑटोमेट कर दो। अगर आप उसको ऑटोमेट कर देते हो दैट इज मच बेटर। ओके, so that was about recon and enumeration. Then we'll talk about vulnerability discovery. This is what Animesh does, right? But then यहाँ पे थोड़े और कॉन्सेप्ट्स भी हम देखेंगे, जैसे इफ यू आर परफॉर्मिंग vulnerability assessments of applications, एप्लीकेशंस में भी स्कैनिंग की अलग अलग टेक्निक्स होती हैं। So there's something called DAST, there's something called IAST. IAST मतलब Interactive Application Security Testing, जिसमें आप उसको एज ए यूजर टेस्ट करोगे, चला के देखोगे कि वो कैसे चलेगी। And then you have SAST as well, which is Static Application Security Testing, जिसमें आप सोर्स कोड देखोगे। ठीक है, आपके पास एप्लीकेशन है, आप उसको रिवर्स इंजीनियर करोगे, रिवर्स इंजीनियर करके आप पता लगाओगे कि इसमें कैसे कंपोनेंट्स किस तरीके से काम करते हैं, right? So that is SAST. Now, अभी I know most of you would be thinking कि यार ये क्या चीज़ें हैं, ये नई नई चीज़ें क्या हैं, ये क्यों हम कर रहे हैं, इसका फ़ायदा क्या है? जब मैंने ये कोर्स लेना था, मैंने तो सिर्फ सिंपल सोचा था कि मैं ओवैस टॉप 10 करूंगा, मैं अच्छा सा बग बाउंटी हंटर बनूंगा, बट दैट इज नॉट हाउ इट वर्क्स, राइट? इन द रियल वर्ल्ड सिनेरियोज, when you work in cyber security changes each and every day, ठीक है? रोज के रोज नई चीजें आती हैं, रोज के रोज नए कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं, रोज के रोज नए प्रोसेसेस हैं, राइट? एंड बिकॉज रोज की रोज नई टेक्नोलॉजीज आ रही हैं, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि वो काम कैसे करती हैं। ओके, सो इफ यू आर थिंकिंग कि यार ये कैसे होगा, इट विल हैपन, डोंट वरी।
One question.
श्योर अनिमेश, टेल मी।
So this process, pen testing, is basically more of scripting or more of what do you call the third-party application testing software?
Not really, it depends on what kind of tech stack you are going to use। अब जैसे tools भी आते हैं इसमें, right? And the other thing would be scripting as well, so it's going to be a blend। अब वो blend कितना होना चाहिए, 50-50 होना चाहिए, 70-30 होना चाहिए, that depends on your experience। So if you are a new pen tester, ठीक है, if you are a junior level pen tester, तो आप इतना फोकस अभी नहीं कर सकते अपनी खुद की स्क्रिप्ट्स पे, अपने खुद के टूल्स आप बनाओगे। यू विल यूज थर्ड पार्टी एप्लीकेशंस और थर्ड पार्टी टूल्स, बट देन एज योर एक्सपीरियंस लेवल इंक्रीजेस, as the familiarity with the concepts increases, तब आप अपने खुद के टूल लिखोगे, राइट? फॉर एग्जाम्पल,
Okay.
एक छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल देते हैं हम। यू आर गोइंग टू परफॉर्म वायरलेस पेन टेस्टिंग, ठीक है? आपको पता है कि आप दो टूल से आराम से काम कर सकते हो। एक आपका आ जाएगा जो वायर शार्क है, बिकॉज उसे आप एनालाइज करोगे, एंड एक आपके पास आ जाएगा जो आपका टर्मिनल बेस्ड टूल है वाईफाई हैकिंग के लिए, ठीक है? बट देन आप नोटिस करो अपने काम में कि आप ना रोज 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 चेक करते जा रहे हो SSIDs को, बिकॉज वो तो आप करोगे जब भी आप वायरलेस पेन टेस्टिंग करोगे। तो आप उसको कुछ इस तरीके से आप ऑटोमेट कर सकते हो कि आपका टाइम कम वेस्ट हो और जो आपका बचा हुआ टाइम है वो नई चीजें सीखने में लग जाए, राइट? तो उस
Okay.
केस में आप देखोगे कि हाँ मुझे एक स्क्रिप्ट लिखनी चाहिए एंड दैट वुड डेफिनेटली हेल्प मी आउट, राइट? So this is something that you will understand when you
Learn from experience.
start, yeah, learn from experience. Like I said, when you asked me this question, ki should it be just tools or should it be just scripts? I said it should be a blend. अब वो blend कितना होना चाहिए, 50-50, 70-30, 80-20 और 90-10, वो एक्सपीरियंस से आपको समझ आएगा। दैट जो नेचर ऑफ द रोल है आपका, उससे आपको समझ आएगा।
Got it.
Alright. Okay, so yeah, that was the third section. Now we have attacks and exploits. So इसमें we'll get to understand कौन कौन से databases हैं. Like everyone knows about CVE, CWE, EPSS. So हर तरीके के हमारे पास frameworks हैं, right? CVSS and CVE are very common. CVE is the most common, but then it might be possible that you are working on a certain kind of technology. उसमें CVE apply नहीं होगा, उसमें EPSS apply होगा, right? So all of that is also going to be discussed in this section. And then, yes, we will be working with different tools. Hydra for cracking, Metasploit, obviously, the best framework that is out there. By the way, just to let all of you know, जो Metasploit आप अपने Linux में use करते हो, that's the free version. There is a GUI based Metasploit as well, which is amazing, right? That is very expensive, and अगर कहीं से if you're able to find a crack, we'll get to play with that. But then the original Metasploit जो आपका terminal based Metasploit है, that is also a very great tool. So obviously उसको तो हम use करेंगे ही करेंगे. And ऐसे भी cases हुए हैं जिसमें in my previous courses we were working on a certain lab and someone asked me कि क्या हम पूरी की पूरी lab solve कर सकते हैं through Metasploit? Yes, it can be. And it's actually fun. Because आपको Metasploit में जाना है, modules ढूंढने हैं, modules for recon, modules for enumeration, modules for attack and exploitation, modules for privilege escalation, modules for lateral movement. So it's fun actually. So ऐसे ही हमारे पास बाकी tools भी आ जाते हैं यहाँ पे. And then finally, after the attacks and exploits section, you have post exploitation and lateral movement. Okay, so this will help you out partly in pen testing and more in रेड टीमिंग, बिकॉज रेड टीमिंग में आपके पास कौन कौन से फ्रेमवर्क्स हैं जो आप यूज कर सकते हो, कमांड एंड कंट्रोल, आप आगे किस तरीके से, इफ यू हैव हैक्ड इनटू वन मशीन, राइट, और इफ यू हैव ओन्ड वन मशीन और इफ यू हैव रूटेड इनटू वन मशीन, आप दूसरी मशीन में कैसे जाओगे? सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द नेटवर्क इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. बट लेट्स सपोज कि वो डायरेक्टली कनेक्टेड नहीं है, वो एक दूसरे के साथ एक डॉकर कंटेनर शेयर कर रहे हैं या क्यूबरनेटिस क्लस्टर में है, तो वो कैसे काम करेगा, राइट? सो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे जो आपने बेसिक पेन टेस्टिंग में चीजें सीखी हैं वो वैसी की वैसी रहेंगी, बस इसमें नई टेक्नोलॉजीज एंड नए टूल्स आ जाते हैं, राइट? So it's not just one single machine that you're hacking, it's the set of assets जो आपका पूरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाएंगी. So that is what is going to be covered in pen test plus PT003. Again, we are not going to be covering PT002, which was the previous version. We are going to be working with the latest one. Okay, so before I proceed, I have a small presentation. Will take 5 to 10 minutes for this presentation, and before the presentation, I actually have a few minutes to take any other questions that you might have. कोई और question before I talk about this presentation?
I have one question. What is the duration of this course, CYSA? How
Going to
many
be somewhere
classes?
around, no, this is Pentest Plus. This is going to be around 40 hours.
Okay, this is pen test plus. Okay.
Yeah, this is Pentest Plus.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a topic, right? and that is SOAR. Before I give this presentation, I just want to ask how many people know about SOAR? Karta kya hai SOAR?
Hi, I have one question. Hello.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, myself Naresh. I already pinged the question. I have a doubt. Like, I did my, graduation in completely non-technical background, like, MBA, something like that. So this
Mhm.
cybersecurity course, am I adaptable? This kind of terminology,
Mhm.
applications.
Mhm.
It suits me my background or it related to BTech or something eligible for this.
Not really. I
Only basic
mean,
is this. Yeah.
even in the industry, I come across a lot of people who do not have technical degrees. Yes, initially it would be a little difficult for them, right? To understand all these terms and figure out, what's actually going on, to understand the bigger picture. But then slowly and steadily, with all the efforts that you'll be putting in, I think it is worth it if you want to be in this field. So that's my question. Are you interested in, pursuing cybersecurity? That's going to be my first question. If you are, if you're passionate about it, uh, I don't think it's going to take a lot
Yeah,
of
so
time for you to
I have
break into
interest.
the.
Yes, I
Uh-huh.
have interest to go, change my domain into from this side from other background to this one.
Okay. Yeah. So then I guess what you'll be doing in your pastime, is trying to
Uh,
find out or going on YouTube. For example, I've talked about a specific concept in the course. Others understood it clearly. You were not able to understand a few terms, right? So I'll try my best to help you understand what that concept or what that tech stack is. But then you would also have to spend some free time of yours, you know, either on ChatGPT or on the YouTube or on any other platform, getting some baseline knowledge regarding that.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'll start with the presentation. So this is called SOAR. Why SOAR? Because SOAR is mostly a CYSA concept or a CASP concept. So why I'm going to talk about SOAR is because this is one of the main technologies these days. And then there are a lot of articles that I've come across, and they are related to pen testing of SOAR. Okay, so let's try to understand SOAR hai kya, because in our course, because this is not our first class, this is just class 0, as I referred to it. जब हम कोर्स करेंगे we'll also understand SOAR कैसे काम करता है, and जब किसी environment where SOAR is deployed, how will you pen test it? Because SOAR is a very great cybersecurity tool, but it's not an offensive tool, it's a defensive tool, right? So let's try to understand SOAR hai kya. So before I talk about SOAR, I'll have to talk about SOC. Okay? And SOC is what you'll be going against as a pen tester. अगर आप लोग pen tester बनोगे, आपने जब अपने tools के साथ अटैक करना है, जब आप किसी के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को अटैक करोगे, ऑन दी अदर साइड उसको बचाने वाले कौन होंगे? सॉक. सो व्हाट इज सॉक? सॉक इज सिक्योरिटी ऑपरेशंस सेंटर. ठीक है, एंड व्हाट इज दैट? दैट इज इन मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस अ यूनिट इनसाइड द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. जैसे कंपनीज में नॉक होता है, नेटवर्क ऑपरेशन सेंटर्स, कंपनीज में सॉक भी होते हैं. एंड व्हाट इज दैट? That is a unit within the organization which is responsible for monitoring, detection, analysis, and responding to cybersecurity incidents. उनका काम ये है कि बस अटैक से organization को बचाना है. So what would they be doing? They will be monitoring for events. ठीक है? They will be trying to detect certain kind of events जो आपके organization के infrastructure में हो सकते हैं, either coming from the outside or happening inside. तो उसके लिए they have tools, SIEM, IDS, IPS, and the others. So yeah, I mean, it's not like a firewall. Firewall, I would say that SOAR is way bigger than that, Prince. Okay, you'll get to understand what SOAR is. But yeah, firewall is just a very small component in defensive cybersecurity. So you'll get to understand what it is. What else do you do in SOC? You perform incident response, right? अगर कुछ हो जाता है, if something happens, if a security incident occurs, then how do people in SOC take care of that? They have teams. They have the incident response teams. Bigger companies have their own incident response teams. जहाँ पे छोटे SOC environments हैं, they might not have a lot of people. They might just have the usual SOC analysts performing incident response. Then you also have threat hunting, जिसमें अटैक हुआ नहीं है, but you are proactively trying to find out कि कुछ ना कुछ कंपनी में हो सकता है. So उससे बचने के लिए भी SOC के पास एक प्रोसेस है, which is threat hunting. ठीक है. So ये सब SOC में होता है, and these are the people that you will be going up against as a pen tester. ठीक है. But then what are the problems inside SOC? सबसे पहले आता है tool complexity. There are so many tools and it is impossible to know about all these tools. You can be master of one, you can be a master of few, but you cannot be great at all these tools. You can be good at working with firewalls, you can be good at working with SIEMs, but you can't be good at both because it's difficult. क्योंकि दोनों के लिए अलग learning paths हैं पूरे. ठीक है. So that is one of the major problems with SOCs. Then burnout, because होता क्या है कि pen testing, why do people go for pen testing? Because it is a cool job in cybersecurity, right? It is supposed to be a cool job. Cool job in the sense कि you just have to attack the infrastructure and you will have a report at the end. You're using your tools, and that is something that you wanted to do. Even in all the cybersecurity movies that you would see or the series that you would see, they're mostly focused on hacking and pen testing. So होता क्या है कि in SOC environments, whenever someone is working as an analyst, they get a lot of work. Because SOC कैसे काम करते हैं? SOC is working 24/7 365. उनको ब्रेक नहीं मिलती है, राइट? पेन टेस्ट 24/7 365 नहीं होता है. पेन टेस्ट एक स्पेसिफिक टाइम पे होगा, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू SOC, उनको पूरा टाइम इंसिडेंट से बचना है. इट्स लाइक द आर्मी, राइट? जैसे आर्मी को 24/7 365 काम करना है, सेम गोज आउट फॉर देम. सो दे आर मेंटली फिजिकली एग्जॉस्टेड. ठीक है. सो burnout is one of the major problems with SOC. Then what else? Then we have alert fatigue. For example, अगर आप एक पेन टेस्टर हो, आपने क्या किया? आपने मेटास्प्लॉइट से बहुत सारे मैसेजेस भेज दिए एक स्पेसिफिक मशीन पे, राइट? आपने एक एक्सप्लॉइट बनाया मेटास्प्लॉइट के थ्रू, एंड आपने एक मशीन थी जिसपे आपने सेंड कर दिया. अब आपने इतने मैसेजेस सेंड कर दिए, और वहां पे सोचो जो इस चीज को मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं उनके पास कितने अलर्ट्स आ जाएंगे. और वो जो alerts भी होंगे, all those alerts are not going to be meaningful. Some of them are just duplicates. Some of them are just redundant alerts. तो जब इतने alerts में से एक असली alert को निकालना होता है, that becomes very time consuming. That is again a major problem with SOC. And that is why people tend to go towards pen testing rather than, defensive cybersecurity, rather than being a SOC analyst. Then there's a lot of manual work involved, and hence you have lack of automation, because itna zyada manual work involved hai na ki people get tired. Then there's no collaboration at all. There are different people working in the team. अगर एक ने बताया कि हमारे यहाँ पे एक फिशिंग अटैक आया, दूसरा किसी और स्पेसिफिक कॉन्सेप्ट पे काम कर रहा है या किसी और टिकट पे काम कर रहा है, it is highly possible कि उनके बीच में एक कोरिलेशन है. बिकॉज इफ यू थिंक अबाउट इट, एक फिशिंग अटैक हुआ, एक फाइल डाउनलोड हुई, फाइल के बाद आपके इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में रैंसमवेयर आ गया, राइट? बट इस चीज को कन्वे नहीं करते लोग सही से, SOC एनालिस्ट, और उसमें उनकी भी गलती नहीं है. इट्स नॉट देयर प्रॉब्लम. व्हाई? बिकॉज दे आर वर्किंग ऑन मल्टीपल थिंग्स एट द सेम टाइम. So it's not possible कि they are going to have meetings, let's say every 2 to 3 days, जिसमें they discuss कि उन्होंने क्या क्या tickets पे काम किया. So that's one of the main issues. And finally, evolving threat landscape. Earlier, the only thing that we had to worry about were phishing attempts. Then we were only worrying about web application attacks. Then we were only worrying about virus attacks. But if you talk about 2025, the threat landscape is so big कि अपने environment को बचाना is a very big, thing to do. So that's what I want to mention here, right? So these are the major problems with SOCs, and that is why, जैसे मैंने बोला, लोगों को ये जो करियर पाथ है इतना lucrative नहीं लगता. They want to become pen testers, right? Because that's something that they would want to do. This job is not something that they would want to do. So how do we deal with these problems? Because जैसे जैसे attackers advance होते जा रहे हैं, SOCs also need to get advanced. So for that, they have something known as SOAR. Now, what is SOAR? SOAR stands for Security, Orchestration, Automation, and Response. And if you are a pen tester and you are pen testing your client's infrastructure, which has SOAR in it, तो भूल जाओ कि आप पहली बार में आराम से अंदर घुस जाओगे. Because SOAR has everything inside it. अभी मैं दिखाऊंगा वो काम कैसे करता है. You'll be amazed to find out कि वो चीज क्या है. So जो SOAR होता है, SOAR के अंदर 3 components हैं. You've got security orchestration, automation, and response. Orchestration का मतलब क्या है in simple terms? Collaboration between different components, ठीक है, or sub components. They are working together. There is a collaboration. They are not working individually. Well, they are, but then they are sending data to each other, letting each other know what is going to happen. And then automation. जो मैनुअल काम आपने सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट पे डाला हुआ था, जिस वजह से आपके अटैक सक्सेसफुल हो रहे थे एज अ पेन टेस्टर, वो अब यहाँ से हट जाएगा बिकॉज SOAR हैज दैट कैपेबिलिटी. एंड फाइनली रिस्पॉन्स. साइबर थ्रेट के बारे में पता लगाना इन योर एनवायरनमेंट इज अ गुड थिंग, बट उस पर आप कितनी जल्दी रिस्पॉन्ड करते हो, कितने टाइम में रिस्पॉन्ड करते हो, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ फैक्टर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपको पता चल गया आपके इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में एक malware आ गया, बट कितनी जल्दी यू आर गोइंग टू डील विद इट, दैट इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द मेन क्वेश्चंस. अगर आपने 13 सेकंड की जगह 13 मिनट लगा दिए, it is highly possible कि malware has propagated inside the infrastructure because there are so many strong ransomware strands these days or malware strands these days कि वो within a few seconds they can propagate to other machines. अगर एक मशीन पे आते हैं वो, ठीक है, they can easily infect the whole infrastructure. So ये सब चीजों का सोल्यूशन आपके पास आता है SOAR में. SOAR में क्या है? सबसे पहले जैसे मैंने बोला, ऑर्केस्ट्रेशन में यू हैव डिफरेंट टूल्स इंटीग्रेटिंग विद ईच अदर एंड उनका एक वर्क फ्लो डिफाइंड होगा. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि ये टूल बस ऐसे काम करना चाहिए, वो टूल बस चल गया एंड दैट इज गुड. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जितने भी कोर्सेज होते हैं वेर यू गेट टू अंडरस्टैंड स्प्लंक कैसे काम करता है या पॉलो ऑल्टो फायरवॉल कैसे काम करती है, उससे काम नहीं चलेगा आपका एक कंपनी में. यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कब उनको यूज करना है, कैसे यूज करना है, उसके लिए रन बुक्स क्या हैं, उसके लिए वर्क फ्लोज क्या हैं. अगेन, बिकॉज जब से मैंने ये सेशन आज शुरू किया, आई बीन फोकसिंग ऑन प्रोसेसेस एंड टास्क्स. और यहीं पे ये बात मैं फिर से आपको रिमाइंड करूंगा कि प्रोसेस सबसे बड़ी चीज होती है कंपनी में, राइट? सो सबसे पहले क्या होगा, जितने टूल्स हैं दे आर गोइंग टू इंटीग्रेट विद ईच अदर. देन ऑटोमेशन इज गोइंग टू ऑकर. ठीक है, ऑटोमेशन में क्या होगा कि जो भी मैनुअल टास्क्स हैं हमने उनको ऑटोमेट कर दिया इन सच अ वे कि वी आर नॉट स्पेंडिंग मोस्ट ऑफ आवर टाइम doing the same thing over and over again. Automation does not mean that we are replacing humans. Automation only means that we are going to replace the tasks which are dry and which are repetitive and which are taking so much of your time that you cannot focus on anything else. Got it? Then finally, with everything in place, you need to have good response strategies. So in case something goes wrong, you should be able to respond to it immediately. Now, how does this work? अब ये जो सारी चीजें तो जो theoretical थी, आपको लग रहा है what is this? What is all of this? Now, let me show you how this would work. So I have a very nice slide here. So you have your all your tools here. आपके पास malware के लिए there's a tool called AnyRun. For emails, you have Trustify. For your SIEM, you have Splunk. For your endpoint protection, you have CrowdStrike, Falcon, ये जो आपको दिख रहा है यहाँ पे. This. Then you have something for user behavior. ठीक है, so ये सारे tools हमारे पास आ गए. अब individually they work really well. बट इतने सारे टूल्स एक बंदे को नहीं आ सकते चलाना, राइट? तो उसके लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, इन सबको इंटीग्रेट करना पड़ेगा. किसके साथ? एक प्लेटफॉर्म के साथ. एंड व्हाट वुड दैट प्लेटफॉर्म बी कॉल्ड? सोअर प्लेटफॉर्म. सो सोअर एक टूल है. सो व्हाट इज सोअर? सोअर इज नॉट जस्ट अ कॉन्सेप्ट, इट इज अ टूल एज वेल. इस टूल के साथ जितने सारे टूल्स हैं वो सब कनेक्ट करेंगे. ठीक है. सो जो पहले लोग इंडिविजुअली इन टूल्स पे काम कर रहे थे या जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर थे वो वैसे के वैसे रहेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है कि उनके जॉब्स चले जाएंगे. बट नाउ वी हैव अ न्यू पर्सन हु विल बी ऑपरेटिंग ऑन दिस टूल, सोअर. ठीक है. एंड देन व्हाट विल हैपन, जब इस टूल पे आप काम करोगे तो यू हैव स्पेशल डेवलपर्स जिनको हम बोलते हैं सोअर डेवलपर्स. दैट इज ऑल्सो अ साइबर सिक्योरिटी रोल इफ यू डिड नॉट नो अबाउट इट. सो कुछ लोग होते हैं जिनको बोलते हैं सोर डेवलपर्स. वो क्या करते हैं? वो वर्कबुक्स, प्ले बुक्स डिफाइन करते हैं या क्रिएट करते हैं. और उससे क्या होता है, उससे जितना भी मैनुअल काम है ना, कि अगर किसी को स्प्लंक पे डिटेक्ट करने इवेंट्स, या किसी को मैलवेयर अपना रन करना है एनी रन के अंदर डायनामिकली, इन सब का कोर रिलेशन डिफाइन होगा प्ले बुक्स पे. Yes, all in one tool, not like Burp Suite. Burp Suite in the sense, देखो, Burp Suite is just a web app pen testing tool, right? When it comes to SOAR, SOAR is much bigger than that, right? SOAR is SOAR में सारे tools आ जाते हैं. Burp Suite is just one tool for web app pen testing. But when it comes to SOAR, SOAR में सारे defensive cyber security tools आ जाते हैं आपके. And then if something happens, right? अगर कोई चीज है जो खराब हो जाती है, if there is an attack in your infrastructure, तो अब जो एनालिस्ट बैठे थे, जो साइबर सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट थे, ऐसा नहीं है कि उनको काम से निकाल दिया, उनको ले ऑफ कर दिया. वो अभी भी काम करेंगे. बट मेन प्रॉब्लम क्या थी रिस्पॉन्स की. रिस्पॉन्स लेट हो जाता था. अब रिस्पॉन्स टाइम पे हो उस स्पेसिफिक इंसिडेंट का, तो जो सोर है वो खुद ही आपके लिए एक टास्क परफॉर्म कर देगा. एंड देन जो भी उसका रिजल्ट है वो पकड़ाया जाएगा आपके साइबर सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट को. साइबर सिक्योरिटी एनालिस्ट से पूछा जाएगा कि आपको ये चीज़ करनी है, ये नहीं करनी है. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि जो सोर ने काम किया है वो ठीक है, तो गुड, यू जस्ट क्लिक ऑन इट एंड सोर उसको ऑटोमेटिकली एग्जीक्यूट कर देगा. बट अगर आपको लग रहा है देर आर फ्यू चेंजेस दैट यू नीड टू मेक, यू नो, देन you can perform a manual task as well. All right. So let's see how a SOAR looks like. So for that, I'll go to my browser. Just give me a second. So this is a tool which is from Google. ये Google का अपना SOAR platform है. So they bought it from a company called Simplify. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And यहाँ पे automatically सारी चीजें defined है पहले से. So let's say somebody performs a phishing attempt. उसके लिए पहले से केसेस तैयार हैं एंड व्हाट नीड्स टू बी डन वो भी सारा यहाँ पे यू कैन इजीली फाइंड इट. ठीक है. इफ यू वांट टू क्रिएट योर ओन प्ले बुक्स कि किस तरीके से उनको रिस्पॉन्ड करना पड़ेगा हमें, तो For that, you can create something known as playbooks. All right. So there are some default playbooks here. For example, एक कोई भी छोटी सी भी task है, I'm not just talking about phishing or anything else. There's a website जिसका certificate हमें पता नहीं है कि valid है कि नहीं. And if the website certificate is expired, we should not be interacting with it at all. Okay. So even for a use case like that, SOAR में उसके लिए playbooks हैं. जैसे this is a predefined playbook. अगर मैं इसको zoom करता हूँ, so let's see what it will do. So it will first check the certificate. How? By getting the certificate, उस URL का क्या लिया जाएगा? स्क्रीनशॉट. उस स्पेसिफिक URL को सर्च किया जाएगा बाकी प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे to find out how legit it is. If yes, if it is legit, then these are the actions that will be performed. If not, then this is the set of actions which will be performed. So that's how a SOAR works. And this is also a tool which you should learn about because this is a new tool, right? And बहुत सी companies में इसके related jobs आ रहे हैं. If you just simply go to LinkedIn, right, and search for SOAR, you'll find a lot of jobs. This is also a cybersecurity job role, and it's a very high-paying cybersecurity job role. All right. So again, even though the course is about Pentest Plus, knowing about this technology would help because if you are pen testing in an environment which has SOAR running in it, it will give you a very, very difficult time in your job.
I have one question, Adira.
Sure, Kamal.
Yeah, so the SOAR means which kind of security tools we can integrate with SOAR? SOAR has its own tools, like we have endpoint for endpoint security, we have CrowdStrike, right? And
Right.
in SOAR, you said that it will work, it will combine all the tools. So
It
are
is
we
vendor neutral. Yes, it is vendor neutral. So every SOAR platform can integrate with it all sorts of tools. For example, if you have your Palo Alto Next-Gen firewall, you can integrate
Okay.
with it.
Okay.
If you have Sentinel-1, let's say you don't have CrowdStrike Falcon, you have Sentinel-1, right? You can integrate that with it. So you can find all the integrations here. If you're not using CrowdStrike Falcon, you're not using Sentinel-1, you can even use Microsoft Defender. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So ultimately, we are working on different vendors' tools, but it is centralized that we are working in the single console, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, okay, understood.
Because the biggest problem was collaboration between those tools, right? Because the way Splunk would send data to your CrowdStrike Falcon, or it would take data from your CrowdStrike Falcon, that would be very, 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 very difficult, right? So that is why if you have a tool like this, SOAR, it will become, I wouldn't say very easy, but it would become much more organized. And organization is what you need when you're dealing with advanced attacks. So जिन tools पे पहले लोग काम कर रहे थे, that would still happen, but now you will have a new person who will take on the role of a SOAR administrator, and then you'll hire some more people in the company who will create SOAR playbooks. So this would be, this would make sure that your company is well equipped to handle all sorts of attacks. So that's how it is.
Okay, but one more question here. If someone is
Uh-huh.
saying that I have SOAR knowledge, right? But
Uh-huh.
it is not necessary that a person should have all the tools knowledge, right? It should have.
Yeah.
So
True. True.
how can individual person work on the SOAR? It is not possible, right?
No, individual people can work on SOAR, but so for example, if you're a SOAR administrator, your main role would be to integrate other tools with SOAR and see what's happening. because there will be instances of this specific tool which will be given to security analysts as well. And what security analysts can see is the set of these cases. वो सब ये इन cases को देख पाएंगे. But for an administrator, they can only configure stuff, right? For
Okay.
every tool, there are different roles, right? So if I am a SIEM, or if I'm a SOAR administrator, all I can do is I can add users, I can configure the SOAR platform, and I can integrate other cybersecurity tools with my SOAR. Okay. Then there's going to be a different view for security analysts. So they would get to see something like this, where they can add in their, comments, and that's how they'll be working on tickets. And then there will be another job role, which would be SOAR developer. So those would be the people who have architectural level knowledge or infrastructure level knowledge, and they have been developers in their previous roles. And what they would be doing is that they would be knowing which formats would work on each and every tool, and then they'll try to correlate those formats. And they'll write scripts for that, or they'll write programs for that, or they'll write applications for that. So there are different roles, even for the same tools. Now, I'm not saying that there's going to be just one person handling SOAR. There will be multiple people handling SOAR, but they'll have their own roles defined. Got it? Yeah. Okay, so that's a SOAR. And what can you do with SOAR? You can do a lot of things, but I've just mentioned some of the very important SOAR use cases. Malware. You get malware, it gets detected by any run will run it. Then what's going to happen next? Are you going to quarantine it? Or is there going to be an event generated for it? For that, you need a different tool. But as long as you have a playbook defined in SOAR, you're good. All these tools will work with each other. They'll orchestrate with each other, right? So that's what SOAR will do for you. And it can do other things as well. Phishing investigation, threat intelligence, automated alert triage, which was one of the main problems in SOC alert, fatigue. That would be taken care of by SOAR. It would only present you with the alerts which are genuine, not the redundant alerts. Okay, so that's how a SOAR works, everyone. Okay, so yeah, that is okay. So is it an open source tool or paid? So the tools that I'm working with right now, it is free of cost, but I only have the free version, I would say. The tool that I'm talking about, Simplify, it has two versions. It has a free version, it has a paid version as well. Okay, so the one that I have at my end is a free version of Simplify. And there are other companies as well which have their own SOAR platforms. Splunk, jinka SIEM tool hai, unka SOAR bhi hai. Then Palo Alto also has their own SOAR platform known as Cortex X SOAR. And then there are other companies as well, but main three companies who have their SOAR, and they are very popular are Splunk, Google, Palo Alto, right? And then there are some new vendors as well, which are really great. Okay. So I really hope that all of you like this session. Okay. Now, that's all I had for this specific session in mind. And like I said, this is going to be our session 0. When we meet the next time, that would be our session 1, and we'll talk about our course in detail. And I'll have some documents that I would like to share with all of you, and some lab components as well. Okay. So it was great talking to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.